Good morning. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for December 6, 2021. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature, they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunity to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the chief of police or his representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration and a final decision will be made by the chief of police or his designated representative. If, as a defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative cases or administrative orders, potentially dangerous, and vicious orders, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Phil, if we could please call the first case.
Certainly. Our first case is Animal Care and Control versus Kirsten Cashel for the petition for the return of the dogs Tippy and Clifton. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you sworn, get you in one by one and then sworn in all together at the end. Let's see, I see Miss Kirsten here, folks. Cashel, if you can hear me, you can start your audio video there. All right, see if I can't send you a prompt here. There we go.
Can you see me, sir? I'm sorry, I'm not good at Zoom.
No worries. I can see you. I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, sir.
Thank you kindly. If you would, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kirsten Cashel, and I'm at 429 Silver Run Road, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
Thank you kindly. Hang out for just a moment, and I'll get you sworn in at the end here. And then
I have to hang up?
No, ma'am. Just hang out for a moment. And then
I'm sorry. I just don't want to lose the call.
Swearing in just a moment. So it'll be just 1 second.
Okay.
See our three officers there. If you guys could tilt that camera down a little. Perfect. And if you would each state your name and address for the record.
Officer Keegan, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you.
Officer Roan, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you.
Officer Picarelli, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, 21108.
Thank you kindly. And if everyone would please raise your right hand. And that's you as well, Ms. Cashel. Thank you. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes, sir. I do.
Thank you all kindly. If you would please remain muted unless called upon to speak, and we are good to proceed.
Okay, I believe Officer Keegan, if you can start by presenting the case.
Yes, we're going to have Officer Roan start with her original
Okay. Yep.
narrative. Okay, so on October 22nd, I received a call from an animal hospital to basically check the conditions of specifically more one dog, one of the two dogs, but both dogs on the property, based off of allegations of neglect, based off of grooming, dogs continually coming into the vet hospital with fecal impaction on the rectum, excessive grooming, excessive matting to the point of they've had to sedate to shave, provide medications on other incidents and things like that. I responded to the address, and while there, I did meet with Miss Cashel, where I did inform her that I needed to check the conditions of the dog. So I asked her to bring them to the door so that I could take pictures of them, to have proof of then that day and time of the conditions of the dogs. With the understanding that the female dog in question, Tippy, had already been to the vet and had been shaved, and it was a very close shave. So understanding that already, just to kind of begin the case. Both dogs appeared to be healthy at the time. What then came into the question was the living conditions, because of the excessive smell of urine on the property, seeing puddles of urine and fecal matter on the floor covered in maybe 1 to 2 towels in different areas. And we were able to see, me and other police officers were able to see that as the doors were open, and we were able to view the dogs.
So on the same date, Officer Roan was there earlier in the day. Later that evening when I was on call, police were dispatched back out there because she started making threats, both to us and the communications.
I have an
So
objection at the
every time-
moment. I have an objection. This is about a dog case and has nothing to do with anything else. This is about my dogs.
Yes, I'm just explaining of why I had to come back out there to get your dogs.
Ma'am, you need to let them finish their testimony. This is not an actual court proceeding, so there aren't any objections during testimony.
Okay.
So on the 21st, because police had to go back out there, she was taken to the hospital. So I took the dogs into protective custody so that they could be brought to our facility since she was no longer there. I will share my screen to show you. Let me see. So on the October 21st or 22nd, this was the inside. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the inside of her home. These are the pictures I took. There was a strong urine smell when I was in there. There was tissues everywhere. There was poop. It was very hard to breathe while I was in there. This is just the main area of the house. I'm guessing that the dogs, which I'll get there, there's like a back room area where I'm guessing where she keeps the dogs mainly. That area was covered in feces. And this isn't the first time we've had to deal with this before. When I was out there in January after she had gone to the hospital and the dogs were placed under protective custody, myself and a training officer were bringing the dogs back to her facility, back to her house, because a neighbor was supposed to take care of it. He started complaining about the mess and the smell. So when I went inside, again, there was a strong odor smell. And behind this door where the dogs were at back in January, and this is where the dog's room is. It was really dark at night and I couldn't find a lot of light. So it's, the pictures might be hard to see, but back in January.
I'm sorry.
Again,
So are these, I'm sorry, before you go any further, okay, I'm looking, okay, this is October. Okay, so you're talking
this is
about
October.
January.
Yes, I also have pictures from January as well that I can show
Okay,
you.
I just want to make sure I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, those are the October photos.
So a little bit about the prior history. Back in January of this year, I was called out with county police to pick up 2 dogs. They had placed Miss Cashel under a psych eval, so the dogs needed to be picked up as there was nobody to care for them at the time. Police did bring out the 2 dogs to the fenced-in front area, which is why they had not said anything about the conditions inside, but Officer Keegan did go back to the property when they were going to be released. But because of the condition of the house and because of the neighbor not being able to fully care for the animals at that time, they continued to be with us until they were able to be redeemed about a month later in February of this year.
And so this is the back room in January that as once you walked into that room, my nose instantly started burning because of the urine smell. It's not safe for humans to live in this. It's not safe for dogs to live in it. But back in January, this had such a strong urine smell that as soon as I opened this door, my nose started to burn. I was a little sick in October, so I didn't have that burning sensation again, but there was still a strong urine smell, and then there's poop all over the floor as well.
There were also some mild concerns for both of the dogs upon bringing them to our shelter in January. There were matting, there was urine and fecal matter within their hair, so they did need to be groomed down, and because of how bad some of the mats were, there was some issues right on their skin, but they were treated here at our facility as they were here for about a month.
Could you also share one more time, there's 3 dogs, but there's 2 dogs in custody, or?
No.
Just 2 dogs.
So there is just 2 dogs, Tippy, the female, and Clifton, the male.
Okay, thank you.
There were concerns when I spoke to the vet on this most recent call, the one that happened on the 21st. So on that day, the vet had concerns because a few months prior to that, they had previously shaved Tippy as well for the same reason, except for back then she required antibiotics as well as other pain medications because of how severe the impaction and the magging was. I do have some pictures of that that the vet provided. Let's see. And these photos that were taken were photos that were given by the vet hospital from when she actually went back in October. The reason for me to actually go out. These are photos of Tippy, the condition that she was in, the fecal impaction. According to vet records, this is what was less severe. That this time she didn't require any antibiotics or any pain medication because the impaction did not, this is fecal impaction on the rectum. It didn't require any of it. However, the time 4 months prior to this, when she did go, that's when it required all of the fecal impaction. I mean, the medications. So, sore spots. This is her after grooming, but she had the way that the vet records described and of me talking to the vet herself, the smell of urine that was all on her feet, that was of concern where it could raise bacterial infections. That's it.
And just to explain the medical terminology of fecal impaction, so what they're describing is that there is stool stuck enough around the fur, around the anus, that the dog is unable to have a bowel movement, not from internal impaction, but just that it is blocked, the exit is blocked by stool matting
Correct.
Is that what
So
we're
the
talking
hair,
about?
the hair is long enough to the point that the stool is then catching on the hair and it's staying compacted or stuck to her rectum. Yes.
Thank you so much. I know the pictures help a lot too. I just wanted to get a description of that. Okay, anything else to add before we hear from, is it Miss Kirsten or Miss Michelle?
It does look like we have one of the county officers that we requested to appear, Officer Hopkins.
Oh, okay.
Get them in the swearing, so I will knock that out right now.
Okay.
Let me bring them up here. There's also one Dennis Hoyle, but I don't have him on any of my lists. So I'm not sure if Mr. Hoyle, if you can hear me and if you're related to this case, utilize Zoom's raise hand feature and I'll get you added in, but otherwise, if you're here for a later case, just hang out. And then Officer Hopkins, if you can hear me, start up your audio and video. If you're having issues, I can send you a prompt. There we go. Oh. All right, I can see you. If you could unmute your audio. Oh, thank you, Mr. Hoyle, for that clarification. All right, let me see if I can send you an unmute prompt here. Something might have popped up on your screen. If you're on a phone, it might be a join audio by option somewhere at the bottom or. No. You can dial in to join by the phone. We won't have your video, but we'll at least be able to hear you and hear your testimony. The notice that was sent out, it's the bottom right-hand side. It has a dial to join, and then you use the same webinar ID. And then the phone password is also at the bottom of that notice. If you don't have it, just wave at me and I'll walk you through it.
While you guys are trying to get that together, I did want to bring up another point that within medical notes and conversation with Ms. Cashel, it's been stated that she believed that Tippy in question, the female, has had chronic constipation issues where it required Miralax or other soft foods to kind of help with the passing of the stool. However, while in our care, within this over almost 2 months, neither dog has had any constipation issues. We feed them both wet and dry food, and they haven't had any issues of constipation or requiring any extra medication while here.
Officer Hopkins, if also possible, you could send me a private message through Zoom with a good contact number for you. I can send the Zoom invite directly to your phone, make it easier for you. I'm not seeing anything on my end. We may want to proceed.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can come back to further testimony on that side of things. And then we should move on to hear next from Ms. Cashel. We can't hear you. Can you unmute?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm just not that good with Zoom. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where to start. And I think the best place to start is that my dog Tippy has had serious chronic constipation for 6 years. This has been ongoing for 6 years. And I think we all need to realize that we are living in the middle of COVID. And as a result of COVID, my dog groomer went out of business. They are no longer in business. It was Precious Pups over in Edgewater at the Mitchell Chance Shopping Center. I was taking Tippy regularly there to get groomed because she does have a problem. And I was actually trying to help her constipation problem by doing things that the veterinarians have recommended, like giving her Miralax powder in her water as a laxative, and also giving her pumpkin puree in her food. I have done everything to help this dog. She was not on dry food at all, sparingly, like wet food every single day, non-rawhide treats. I have done everything to help this dog. And this particular veterinarian, the one that, called in to complain about me, I never met with her before. I had been to this particular hospital before, this animal hospital, but they have, 5 or 6 veterinarians on staff. And I have never had trouble with any of the other doctors there. The rest of the veterinarians there, Dr. Thomas has been wonderful, Dr. Kugel, the other doctors, Dr. Anillo, they've all been wonderful. I don't know what's wrong with this Dr. Powell. Her name is Elise Powell, and I will sue her separately, but let's put that aside, probably in tort law. The point being is that I have done everything to help my dog. My dog's butt has cost me a fortune, but I love her. So I've done everything possible. Now, as far as the repairs of the house, I'm sorry that Officer Roan found my house to be in disrepair. I was in the process of applying for disability retirement. So I'm a retired federal attorney. I had to wait 3 years to get through the disability application process because my divorce slowed down the process, meaning that my ex-husband refused to sign off on the disability paperwork because he wanted a part of my pension, which he did not get in the divorce case. But the point being is I was putting off all these home repairs until my disability pension came through, because I just didn't simply have the money to do the home repairs at the time. I used to make $100,000 a year as a federal attorney, and I went from making $100,000 a year to making nothing, zero. And again, it took me to litigate to get through my divorce and then to get my pension. It took over 3 years. So now I've had the money to do the home repairs. The past couple of weeks, I've had new flooring. I've had the carpet with the poo and the urine pulled up, and I've had new flooring put down in 3 rooms of my house. This has been expensive, but I finally have the money to do it because finally, I'm in a better position. I'd like to ask any of you, if you ever had to live 3 years without a steady paycheck, it's nearly impossible. And so finally, and I even mentioned this to Officer Piccarelli by text message, I said, I'm going to do the home repairs. I can't remember when I texted Officer Piccarelli about the home repairs, but I was telling her I was planning to do them well before this whole incident in October happened, where Officer Roan was at my house. I was trying to find a contractor. So I found a contractor with a reasonable price. I already had the floors done in 3 rooms. So the house is in much better condition now than it was. Do you have any questions about that?
No, not at this time. You can continue.
Sure. So I think this is a series of bad circumstances. Like, for example, my groomer went out of business. I was used to going to that groomer. Tippy, by the way, needs to be sedated when she goes to the groomer. She's too antsy. And by the way, animal control did wound her leg the last time she was there in January. They groomed her, and I'm sure she was antsy as usual on the table, the grooming table. And she came back to me with 2 wounds, 1 on each leg of her front legs. So I'm not saying you all aren't doing a good job. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this dog is particularly difficult. She gets very antsy when she's on the grooming table. So, I think, I think this has all been a product of, had I not, had to retire early from the government due to I have asthma allergy conditions, I would have had the money to make the home repairs well before all of this occurred. But, essentially, I view this case, your case against me, as discrimination. You're discriminating against me due to my medical disabilities. I would have not been in a financial hardship position had I been able to continue my job with the government. But I was not able to because I had asthma. I had allergy attacks. I couldn't breathe at work. And by the way, they found toxic mold in the building. When the OSHA health inspectors came to do the air samples, they found out the reason myself and other of my coworkers were getting sick at work was because of toxic black mold. Okay. So this is a snowball effect. Okay. I become medically disabled due to asthma and allergies. I lose my job. I'm in a financial hardship position with no one to help me. None of my relatives would help me. I mean, I thought I was going to be living in a van. I was so scared because I was running out of money. Finally, my disability pension comes through after my divorce case. And I finally have time and the money to repair my home. And I've done repairs already. And now you're still kind of yelling at me for having my house in disrepair. I'm doing the best I can. And my house is in much better shape than it was 2 weeks ago because I've, again, had floors done in 3 rooms. So the urine smell is not, I've had neighbors come over and do like a sniff test. They can't smell the urine anymore. So I don't know if animal control wants to come back and re-inspect, but they better make an appointment. I don't want anyone showing up at my house unannounced. That's part of this entire problem at the get-go. And I did tell Mr. Hall, I am going to be seeking an injunction against the police department and animal control for just not responding. They don't belong at my house. Okay, make an appointment. If there's no emergency, call me. Make an appointment. You can even call me and say I'll be there in 30 minutes. I just want advance notice. It's not fair to have armed police showing up at your house when it's your property. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely, I'm a former Coast Guard officer and I know emergency versus non-emergency. If there's no emergency, just call me and make an appointment. You can inspect my dogs. But when the police show up at my backyard, I can't open my front door because my front door is temporarily broken. The handyman tried to fix it. It's stuck. I can't get, sometimes I can open it. It just depends. It gets stuck. The bottom line is that there are emergencies and there are non-emergencies. And when the police show up at your house and your dogs go ballistic, they knock over the water bowl, they're barking, it's like, just call me and say, we're on our way. That's all. And Officer Piccarelli, by the way, was very nice about that. The last time she came over here, she just called me in advance and said, I will be there at XYZ time. I'm like, great, that's wonderful, okay? So I don't know how we go about this moving forward, but I have lost faith in the process, okay? I've lost faith in the process because these dogs have been with me. They're my family. They've been with me for 8 years, 8 years. And you've torn apart my family. I don't consider myself to be a pet owner. These are my children. And I just can't believe that you would do this. It's not my fault Tippy gets constipated. And to your point being that, Officer Rowan said, Tippy hasn't had any constipation. I'm just getting a tissue. I'm sorry, I'm crying. Since she's been in animal control, she's only been there a month, okay? It takes at least 6 months for her to get backed up. It's a recurring constipation problem that occurs every 6 to 8 months, okay? So maybe she's not backed up yet, constipation-wise, but eventually she's gonna get backed up again because it's been happening for 6 years, okay? So I don't know what else you want me to say. And I don't know what, I guess if I don't like your decision, I appeal to this district court. Is that where I go? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes. We can discuss that after, but we're just hearing your testimony at this time.
Well, would it be prudent perhaps to have animal control make an appointment with me so they can come see the home repairs that I've done since the last time they were there? Because I spent a lot of money redoing my floors in my house.
I think we'll hear the rest of the case and then we'll consider that in our discussion. Do you have anything else that you would like to present as evidence to present your case at this time?
Well, I sent Mr. Hall a photo of one of the floors in my home. I just think it's, what's the word? I think it's imprudent and discriminatory to make a decision today. What I'm saying is I'd like a continuance, because how can you all decide on my case today if you haven't seen the home repairs I've made in the past few weeks? I personally have not done the work. I hired, construction people to do the work. That's what I think would be the most prudent option, would be to, I don't want to continue this for another month. I want my dogs back, but like the problem is, I don't know if you want to take the camera around and show you. I don't know if you can see the new flooring. This is the room that can you see the floors?
Yes.
This is all brand new laminate, okay, and it's in 3 rooms. This is the room. I'm sitting in the back room that Officer Room was talking about that had the doggy food. And the reason this back room got so bad is because when my husband left me back a few years ago, he left me because I was losing my job due to my medical disability and could no longer financially support him. So I had to leave the dogs in this back room when I was commuting down to Pentagon City. It's a long, I'd never put dogs in crates for like 10 to 12 hours a day. That's crazy. So I would leave the dogs in this back room because it was the safest part of the house. There was no scissors or knives. It was very safe for the dogs to be in this back room. And I was gone when I was commuting Pentagon City, oh my gosh, I was gone probably 10 to 12 hours a day with the traffic, the driving, working 9 hours a day. And I was sick. I was getting asthma attacks at work, and I knew eventually I was going to lose my job, but I was trying to apply for disability retirement so I could support myself, because again, I don't have anyone to financially help me. So I was trying to hang on to my job, even though I was getting sick, and I had nowhere else to put my doggies because my husband had left. He made minimum wage. He made nothing. He was working at Arby's. And so when it was clear I was going to lose my job, he moved back to Richmond to stay with his wealthy parents. Okay. His parents are millionaires. So, I've been through a series of bad circumstances, and I'm trying to do the best I can. And I just don't think ripping my family apart was the right thing for you all to do. Okay. That's all I have to say right now.
Okay. Thank you. Are we ready to, do we need to hear from Officer Hopkins? Are we?
Yes, I believe that the audio issue was sorted out. We also have, let's see, Officer Myers as well. I'm going to bring up.
Okay.
Then Officer Hopkins, if you would start your video, if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
I absolutely can. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
Officer Hopkins, and I'm serving out of Southern District, which is 35 Stepney's Lane in Edgewater.
Perfect, thank you. Hang out for just 1 second. Let me see if I can get Officer Myers up here. Officer Myers, if you can hear me, if you could unmute your audio and start your video. Oh. I can see you. Can you hear me okay? I can't hear anything from you. Let's see. It says your audio is on. Can you try saying something? Officer Myers, can you try saying something? Oh. The joys of technology. When it works, it's great. When it fights us, we contemplate office space. Let's see. It says it's on. I'm not sure why it wouldn't be giving us anything. Let me see if I can try to toggle it off and on again. Anything? No. If you have a phone handy, we could try to dial your audio in. Down the bottom left. I'm just going to mute you there, Ed. I'm getting a little feedback on your channel. Not sure why. Officer Myers, down the bottom left, where it should have a mute button right now, there should be a little arrow next to it, and you can switch to phone audio, where you'll be able to have it call you by putting in your phone number, and then you'll be able to have audio that way. That usually works without fail. Good old phones. No recognized audio channel yet. I could try to send you an invite directly. If you can either email me a good contact number or send it as a direct message through Zoom. I suppose in the meantime, I can do 2 separate swearings, and we can proceed with Officer Hopkins in the spirit of getting the show on the road. Officer Hopkins, if you would please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you kindly.
I'm sorry, Philip, before she testifies, did we lose Ed?
You know, I'm not seeing him on the list.
He's in the attendees.
Got this here. Let me bring him up. Might have tried to disconnect and reconnect, and that popped him back into the waiting room. He should be coming up now. There we go.
Okay, if Ed is back online, we can continue and hear testimony from Officer Hopkins, please.
Do you have questions for me, or do you just want me to give my account? So,
yes, if you could share your experience and what you witnessed, and your testimony for this case. Yeah.
okay. Well, earlier in the day, I got a call from the vet that was in South River Veterinary. They wanted to just get information about how to. They were talking about Mrs. Kirsten, about their encounters with her, and they were just wondering how to basically, I would say, like, divorce the client, or just, disconnect from her and not provide services for her anymore, just because she was, at the time that I was speaking to an employee, they were saying she was making threats to come to the facility to sue them and things like that. But also the employee said that one of the veterinarians was concerned about the dogs. Whatever the treatments were, they didn't think that she was administering the treatments to the dogs, and rather they thought she was seeking opioids and things like that from the veterinary office for her own personal use. So they wanted to know how to go about doing well-being checks for the dogs, and I advised them that that would be on the burden of animal control, and that's how they would go about that. And then later in the day, we got a call to...
I'm sorry, Officer Hopkins, which day are you referring to?
This is the October date.
October, okay, thank you.
So that same day, but later in the afternoon, myself and Officer Myers got a call to meet animal control at the residence so that they can conduct their investigation. But we were just only there to just provide if there was any sort of aggressiveness from the homeowner. We would just be there for animal control's protection. But once we got there, I don't remember her last name. I'm so sorry. She was not, what is it?
Cashel. Miss Cashel.
Miss Cashel.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't, wanting to let us in the house. We could not go into her house. She was very adamant about that. We again, like as stated, we could see puddles of urine in the front entrance of the door, as well as smell. So she would not let us in, but also we were asking her, if you can't let us in or don't want us in, could you please bring the dogs to the door or outside so that animal control could see, or Officer Rowan could see the dogs. So it was that back and forth. And then finally she let us, we were around the back to the deck. And again, we could see white spots on the wooded floors and things like that from, I don't know what all that was, but then she did let us see the dogs. She brought them out, finally brought them out to her deck. And then Officer Rowan was able to see what she could see and take pictures that way.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to add, or?
That was all.
Thank you so much. Do we have Officer Myers up and running with audio?
Officer Myers just got me a good contact number for where she is currently located. I am connecting her in now.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great. Yay. Yes. We
just got to get her sworn in real quick. Officer Myers, if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Officer Myers. And what was that?
Name and address of the precinct.
Yes, sir. I'm Officer Myers with Anne Arundel County Police Department. I'm currently assigned to Southern District at 35 Stepney's Lane.
Thank you kindly. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you kindly. We are good to proceed there. Wonderful.
Thank you. Officer Myers, can you please share with us what you experienced and witnessed on the interaction with Ms. Cashel?
Yes, ma'am. So on that day, I was dispatched to assist animal control to the residence of Ms. Cashel. Like Officer Hopkins said, we showed up. She didn't seem to be very happy to see us that day. When she opened the door, immediately you can smell a strong odor of urine from I believe it was the front of the residence. She kind of stood in the doorway. She wasn't, she didn't bring the dog out immediately, but after the animal control officers told her that we had to see the dog, she tried to bring the dog out. And she said the dog was not being cooperative, so we went around back. She brought the dog out to the deck, and again, when she propped the back door open, there was a strong odor of urine. We saw some fecal matter on the floor. There was some fecal matter on the back porch, and again, she wasn't too happy to see us. We saw the dog momentarily, and then she said that the dog wasn't happy to see us, so she took her back into the residence.
Okay, thank you. And at that time, let's see. So have we heard from everyone in terms of testimony? At this time, are we open to questions. We'll start with questions for the officers in presenting case.
I did want to ask Miss Cashel some questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Okay, I guess for me, I guess backstory of like back in January, we did have you, you did clean up your house at that point. My question is more of why did it get to this point again? I know you talked about you didn't have a groomer anymore, and that you didn't have money, but at the same time, you do have a fenced in yard. So I just wanted to know why there was that strong urine and feces smell when you could have let your dogs outside.
I can explain.
Okay.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, am I mute or not?
Nope, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so about 3 years ago, my dog Clifton was attacked in my yard by a pit bull. I have files on this. Animal control should know about this. I used to leave my dogs out in the yard to play and do their business outside all the time. And then what happened is this dog, his name is Nico, he's one of my neighbor's dogs, was being walked by a young, small child. So you have like essentially an 85-pound pit bull being walked by like a small child. The dog came off the leash. Can you still hear me? I'm sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry, my screen changed, so I didn't know if you could hear me. So I want to say this is like in the spring of 2018 when this incident happened. So I used to leave my dogs out in the yard. My dog Clifton almost lost his left eye. He was in my yard behind my fence, and the pit bull chewed through the fence to bite my dog in the face. So I had to take my dog to the emergency room. I took him up to the veterinarian hospital on Bestgate Road. He was in pretty good shape considering how severe the attack was. The only way I was able to get the pit bull off my fence was to put sticks over the fence, and then the dog ran away and bothered my neighbor's dogs across the street. So, and it gets even worse. And here's why it gets worse, is because the family who owns this Nico never could produce vaccination records, that this pit bull was ever vaccinated for rabies. So my dog was vaccinated for rabies, but I wasn't. So I had to go to the emergency room and get rabies shots, which was extremely painful and extremely expensive. In the end, I did not sue the family that owned the pit bull because, one, they're the type of people, they're my neighbors. They live like a block away. They're the type of people that would burn my house down. And I don't want anyone attacking me. I live alone. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to bother people. I don't want people bothering me. And they're also the type of people that aren't going to have the money to pay my veterinarian bills. So why sue? Why sue? Anyway, the point being is that that's why I don't leave my dogs out in the yard anymore. And I'm not the only person in this neighborhood that has an issue with other dogs running around loose. I have a neighbor who purposely walks his dog at like the high school or the park because he does not walk his dog. He has a German Shepherd in the neighborhood because there's just too many crazy dogs in our neighborhood. So to answer Officer Keegan's question, the reason I just don't believe it's safe to leave the dogs alone, I do walk them in my yard, my dogs. I put them on leashes with harnesses and we walk, twice a day around the yard, but we stay inside our fence line. And if I see a dog like a Doberman or a pit bull coming down the street, I pull the dogs right back in the house to safety. That's the bottom line. So I guess what I'm saying is my dogs used to be house trained much better than what's been going on the past couple of years since this pit bull attack. And let me tell you, it was very scary for me because I'm very frightened of large dogs. And this was so scary. It was like being in a car accident. It was so scary. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. At this time, commissioners, do we have any questions for either party?
I just have a question for Ms. Cashel. She said she was you are a retired federal attorney, correct?
That's correct. I'm still working. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to clarify. I had to retire early due to a medical disability related to allergies and asthma, but I still work. I still represent federal employees and veterans in employment law cases. I work part-time.
But you're not barred in Maryland, correct?
That's correct. I'm licensed in DC and Colorado.
All right, that's why I was asking, because I looked you up real quick during the case and I couldn't find you, but that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify. So I can represent federal employees nationwide. And even though I live in Maryland, I do have a part-time office in Washington, D.C. And I'm in good standing, by the way. I don't know if you're an attorney, but I'm in good standing in both of my states.
So my question, is along the lines about the living conditions for the two dogs. So what your explanation is that you had a long commute, and so they were kept in that back room where they soiled that room. And since then you've had that room cleaned and taken care of. And then the reasons why they're going to the bathroom is the house and not using the backyard is because was it Clifton was attacked by a dog through the fence. I did see that in the veterinary records as well. But since then you are not taking them in the backyard. How are they relieving themselves in the bathroom?
I am. I just walk them in the yard on leashes. I don't let them run freely in the yard because I'm afraid of the fence. I'm afraid of a Doberman or pit bull coming through the fence line again. So I do take them out twice a day on leashes and walk them in my yard.
Okay.
And that way, that helps me because if I see a big dog coming down the street, the fact that I have my dogs on leashes and we're in my backyard, I can take them back into the house into safety. I mean, there's just too many dogs in my neighborhood. I don't know how to put it. And the thing is that I'm very responsible in the sense that I'm not going to let my dogs run loose for the neighborhood. But there's one neighbor who's got a Doberman. I don't know this guy's name. This dog is as big as almost a small horse. And he lets the dog just run like with it unleashed, or he puts them on one of those like retractable leashes. It's like 20 feet long. I mean, the dog's never bit me, but I'm just saying it just seems unsafe to have that large of a dog just running aimlessly.
So back to the soiling of the house. I'm trying to get an idea of the time frame. It looks like we're talking about an October visit as well as a January visit. So I guess what they're describing is, please clarify for me. So from January, the house did get cleaned up, but then when we went back in October, it was soiled again.
Well, I want to clarify one thing, and you're partially correct, but I want to clarify one thing. Officer Keegan mentioned these white spots on my flooring, or maybe it was Officer Myers. I'm not sure which one mentioned that. The white spots were not urine. They were, I had this old laminate flooring, which was disintegrating. So there's pictures of it. Basically, it's wear and tear. It was the high traffic areas on flooring, right? The previous homeowners that I purchased my home from, when they went to sell the house, bought the cheapest, crappiest, excuse my language, flooring you can get from Home Depot. And so just wear and tear, it just wore out. I mean, there were white spots all over it because it was disintegrating. And so
you did clean the house in January.
I've had actually a lady, a neighbor. Well, she's not my neighbor, but she's a lady helped me. Yeah, I've had several people help me clean the house because I have a bad leg as well, so that makes everything even more difficult for me. I don't know if you know lymphedema. Do you know lymphedema? So I have very hereditary bad varicose veins, which has caused me to have a bad leg. My left leg is not in great shape, but I'm still able to walk. I can't do everything myself anymore. So that's why I've had people to come over to help me clean. And I just think all of this is just, I don't want to say crazy, but like, I'm a good person. I'm a veteran. I served, in the Coast Guard. I help veterans now. I mean, like, this is crazy. I mean, I'm trying to get my finances in order, and that's why I've been able to replace the flooring in 3 rooms. It's just that none of this stuff would have happened if I hadn't lost my job because of my asthma and allergy condition. But here we are. Okay, so here we are, and I'm trying to do my best. I'm hoping I'm answering your questions.
Yes, and we can, we can understand. I mean, there are times when life changes occur and we're trying to make sure that you're still able to care properly for your animals, and while you're also have a lot that you're taking care of your own health. So we're trying to see what we can do and how these animals can be best taken care of. And so my question is, from January to October, so you cleaned the house and you had some help in January, but then it got bad again by October. Describe what happened there.
I don't have a way to exactly describe, except that I've been trying to find a contractor for quite some time at reasonable prices to fix my floors. That's been taken care of for the most part. I've had 3 rooms completely refloored with brand new laminate flooring, which is a 15-year warranty. I bought good flooring from Home Depot. But here's what I would say. Maybe we can come to some sort of reasonable decision and say, let me have my dogs back, and maybe animal control can come do inspections like once a month or something. I just want them to make an appointment. Just don't show up. Can you just even if they call me an hour before or the day before, I work from home most of the time. Like I said, I have a part-time office in DC, but I do conference calls from home. I mean, sometimes it just, I can't have all this noise and commotion. And I'm a very quiet person. I just would like to be left alone is what I'm trying to say. And maybe that's a proposal where, I could make a plan to, I found a new groomer, by the way, because I told you mine went out of business here in Edgewater. The groomer I was going to is up in Pasadena now. Their dog Gone Perfection. They do cats and dogs. The problem is that Tippy refused. The last time I had her scheduled to go to the groomer to take care of her constipation problem, she wouldn't take the trazodone. So Dr. Thomas, one of the veterinarians at the VCA clinic, prescribed trazodone. Do you know what trazodone is? Like a tranquilizing pill. And Tippy refused to take it. I couldn't get her to the groomer. That's why I had to take her over to the vet to have them sedate her. She's just a high energy dog. So I don't know if we can make some sort of plan where we could make a grooming schedule or an inspection schedule. I just want my dogs back. They are I don't have human children. They're my canine children. And this has been very traumatic for me. I'm sorry. I mean, I will listen to whatever reasonable plan you all want to put forth, but eventually, we just have to come to some sort of plan.
Thank you. I will definitely keep that in consideration. I guess, commissioners, I guess my only other question is, are you physically unable to clean the stool? If an animal soils the house, the photos that we've seen show more than just one day of stool accumulation and fecal and urine matter. So from January to October, when the house got bad again and the pet soiling in the house, that's more than one day. Like they soil the house and you clean up a mess. I mean, that happens, but the buildup is a concern. Are you physically able to clean up the soiling in the house immediately when an animal soils in the house?
I am, and I have done that in the past. And I think probably what I'm going to need to do now that I have more money available, and by that I mean my retirement pension came through and I'm still working part-time, is to hire, I have this cleaning lady, her name is Sylvia, and she's wonderful. She often brings her daughter over to help clean. And I think just to get on a regular cleaning schedule, I'm going to have to put out the money to do it. So I guess what I'm saying is I can take care of some of the cleaning, but I probably need Sylvia to help me. And she's been here before. It just has not been on a regular basis. What I mean by that, it's intermittent. So maybe I need to make some sort of schedule where she comes every other week or once a month or whatever type schedule is. But I'm determined to keep the floors clean out. I mean, I paid over, by the time you count labor and supplies, probably close to $4,000 for the floors. So I have new floors now. They're clean. They're 15-year warranty laminate. I just think this whole thing has gotten crazy. And again, I didn't mean to get in this terrible situation. It just I literally lived for 3 years without a steady paycheck. It was very difficult financially. And, I thought once I got through this, I could make the repairs. And again, I told Officer Piccarelli well before this incident happened in October that I was planning to make the repairs. I was just looking for a contractor. So, I mean, I don't know what more I can tell you. I don't know. I'm worn out. This whole thing has just worn me out emotionally.
Thank you. Officers, is there anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No, ma'am.
And commissioners, do you have questions for either party?
I would just like to add that I know she keeps talking about money, but for me, as a pet owner, it does not cost money to let your dogs outside. I know she talked about scratches on her flooring, but that's not the issue that we were having. It wasn't much of the care of what the floors looked like. I can bring up my photos again because there was just tissues and trash, pee and poop everywhere. And honestly, it doesn't cost money to pick that up. I understand that like Clifton got attacked, but if you can take them outside, and be out there with him to make sure he's, to keep an eye on it, make sure, if you see another dog, then yes, you can bring them back inside. But the fact that like you had cleaned up the house and then it got to this situation again, I do want to clarify that we didn't come to her house on October just as a random thing. It's because of the threats she was making to the vet hospital, because she was making threats to our office and to the police dispatchers. That's why we went out there, and then seeing the care of the animals, everything kind of dwindled from there. But that's what we're concerned. I'm definitely concerned that if you have another hiccup again and don't let the dogs outside, that they're going to end up in the same condition before, even though you've replaced the flooring and everything. That is great. I'm just afraid again, because this has happened twice in 1 year, that if you get into another spot again, that the dogs are not going to be let outside and we're going to be back here again.
Back in February, upon redemption, it was contingent on the house being cleaned and that they needed to be released into good living conditions. So that is why back then the house was corrected in order to be redeemed from our facility for the month that they had been here.
Thank you
Was
for
that.
that.
Was the January incident something that came before the commission? This commission?
No.
No.
That was
Okay.
a separate incident that we got out there on a call because she had gone to the hospital, and Officer Picarelli had picked up her dogs to put under protective custody while she was in the hospital. I was the officer that went out there to give the dogs to someone that was supposed to take care of the dogs, and that's when we found out the living conditions. And so Officer Picarelli worked with her to get her house cleaned up so that she could get the dogs back. But then since then, obviously from this last incident in October, the house has become dirty again. And she went to the hospital again.
I have a question. Is this Officer Keegan speaking? Is that who this is? Okay. I want to say something, please. Am I allowed to say something?
Yes, you can respond.
Okay. What happened in January was I was being stalked by a former client of mine, and I called the police for assistance, but the police provided zero assistance. This person, this gentleman, we're not calling gentleman, stalker, was at my house for almost 24 hours in my backyard stalking me. And the reason I lost his appeal, he's a former client, okay? And no, I did not press charges against him, but that's how my dogs got to animal control in January, is because I was very sick. My blood sugar was very high. I'm pre-diabetic. I called the police. They took me in for emergency evaluation. They found out my blood sugar when I got to the hospital was extremely high. So the point being is, this man was stalking me. He has not returned, thankfully, to my house. But the point being is, that's how my dogs got to animal control in January in the first place. I've since, my blood sugar has come down. It's under control. I think I can handle this situation. And I think that the point being is, I think we just need to make some sort of schedule. Like, do I need to provide you all with a cleaning schedule or an inspection schedule, some sort of schedule? I think that's the way that my dogs should come back to me. I mean, they are my dogs, and I think Anne Arundel County is being judgmental about this whole situation. In fact, this situation has traumatized me emotionally so much. I want to leave Anne Arundel County. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go somewhere where, there aren't judgmental, narrow-minded people that don't understand, situations where you run into work.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, your screen had frozen up for just a second. I wanted to make sure we could still hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was just saying, I mean, I am a person who's just doing the best I can, and I think I can take care of my dogs. I have for 8 years, and like I said, Tippy is just very difficult. And by the way, Clifton, her brother, does not have the same constipation problem. It's only with Tippy. So I just think some sort of plan. I know the house was a mess when they came back in October. And by the way, I want to make an administrative note. The letter I received from you all is dated July 16th, 2021, but that's obviously the wrong date because this letter was sent to me in late November. So I just want to make a note of that this is the wrong date on the letter. But I don't know what more I can say except that we need some sort of plan, and I think I've already made really great strides in that plan by getting my floors replaced. The urine smell is no longer in the house. Again, I've had 2 neighbors come over and do like a sniff test. It's much better. We don't smell any urine. And I'm, just to make a plan. I mean, again, I don't mind animal control coming over to inspect. I just would like advance notice when they're going to be here to inspect. I mean, this is my house, by the way, not theirs.
I just wanted to make it clear that as animal control, our first priority is, or our main concern is not to take someone's animals from them. So when I first responded, my response is just to go ahead and do the conditions of the dogs. Are they healthy? Are they being mistreated? Do they look as though something like they're in distress? Now, when I was there, physically, the dogs did not look as though they were unhealthy, in distress, no. However, their living conditions and the fact that when I went there, or me and the other 2 Anne Arundel County police officers arrived there, and we did not even physically go in the house, and we could have that strong smell of urine and feces coming through the door, not even being no more than 5 feet away from the front door and the back door, that's concerning to me, especially with you saying that you have these health issues. You should not be living in that condition as well. So making a priority of taking the dogs out to use the bathroom and keeping the house up to par not only helps them, but it also helps you. So with that, like I said, we don't want to take the animals from you. However, it got to a point of where you were being taken from the property. So we can't just leave the dogs in there, especially with that condition. Now, our stipulation of asking you to clean up the house benefits not just them, but also you as well. So I want to make sure that we're making that clear, that we're not keeping the dogs just because we want to keep your animals from you. We're keeping the dogs because the living conditions are not suitable. There's not proper air for these dogs. There's not proper air for you as well. So
there is now, because I've ripped out all the old carpeting and all the old flooring that had the urine on it. That's all been taken out. Okay, here's the way to solve the problem. I'm not done speaking yet. The way to solve the problem is an injunction against the police department. I never want to see the police ever again. This is my house. Just leave me alone. That's all I ask.
We do have a responsibility to for the care of animals and to make sure that they are in medical care and good living conditions. And so we're just doing our part and making sure that when you had a medical need, that we're able to help take care of the animals when you needed us, and that they return to good living conditions and medical care. If you're able to do that, that's what we're hoping to decide on today. Thank you for your testimony. At this time, I think we've heard enough.
Can I make
one more quick thing to add? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I think this should be a 3-pronged plan. Now that I have replaced most of the flooring, I've done 3 rooms. I can continue to make the home repairs with this contractor I've hired. 2, I should make a commitment to have regular cleaning services with Sylvia, who's been here before, or I've hired my maid brigade before as well. Make a cleaning schedule, and then have animal control come to inspect maybe once a month, maybe whenever they want to, but they need to notify me in advance. And I think that's a good 3-pronged plan. And even though I can't go back to BCA South Arundel vet, I already have another veterinarian lined up in Severna Park. I've been there before. They're a little more expensive, but they're wonderful. It's South River Animal Hospital in Severna Park. So I have a plan. I just need you all to work with me on the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, you have other questions for each party?
No, I think I have a question for you, being the veterinarian on the panel.
Sure.
I just want a little clarification. The one dog, Tippy, had the impacted fecal matter.
Mm-hmm.
and I believe we heard testimony that the animals have been in animal control care for about the last 2 months, and that problem has gone away. Is that correct? And I believe we heard testimony that every 6 months it reoccurs. Excuse me. It reoccurs. I'm going to ask you, Stephanie, as the vet, is there any validity to that? That it's like a 6 month cycle, or would it have shown up already within the 2 months?
There's no hard and fast rule of when pets will have a medical cycle of events. I guess, what I was trying to glean from medical records and unable to differentiate was the description of fecal impaction is that there can be internal versus external impaction. So trying to understand, which from South Arundel medical, their medical records, I'm not able to see if it was truly a constipation impaction. What we have provided before us was an inability to defecate based on matted fur and fecal matter obstructing the exit of the anus from a grooming issue. That is what I have pictures of and what I was able to see in this medical records, but I don't have, none of us have in those records back from 2017, 2018, 2020, 2021. We don't see anything in there about, and there may be more that's there. We just don't have it in front of us. I don't know, but I don't see anything about conversation about constipation and Miralax and that cycle. It was a fecal impaction and inability to defecate from an external matted fecal matter around the anus. So that's just, I'm not saying that's not what happens every 6 to 8 months. And so, yes, it is possible that sometimes they have some constipation, whether it's every 6 months, or that's certainly possible. Do we have medical records directing us to that information? We do not. What we do have is a grooming issue of a matted stool around the anus and therefore unable to defecate past a mat. I don't know if that helps you at all, but that's medically what I can see in the records.
The main thing that would help in my mind is, again, since they have been in county care, that issue has been resolved. And I guess I need to ask the officers that, is that they have been observed?
So through conversation with our technicians, yes, they have not had any issues with having any constipation, have not required any medication to assist them. They've been fed, same as the other dogs and cats that get fed here, with some wet and dry food. They get taken out to use the bathroom as well. They've actually been fairly good when it comes to using the bathroom within their kennels. We'll take them out. We have a lot of volunteers that take them out to use the bathroom. But they have not had any constipation issues or anything, or impaction issues or anything like that while in our care.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Ms. Cashel, I see that you're speaking, but you are muted. If there's anything else that you'd like to add before we close for further comment, and we will proceed to open deliberations. If you have anything else to add, I think that you do. Please be brief, but you are muted.
Okay, yes, I would like to say one final thing. Well, I'll be very brief. Tippy is the only one with a constipation problem. She cannot be given dry food. It takes 6 months. She's been seen at the vet, the emergency vet at Bestgate Road, for the same fecal problem. I've done everything I can to help this dog. I've given her pumpkin, Miralax, as prescribed by the vet, okay? Clifton her brother has never had a constipation problem. It's only with Tippy. Again, I think if we form a plan that I commit to, saying I will have someone help me clean, I'll finish the home repairs, and I'll have animal control come and inspect by appointment, I think we can get this solved. Thank you.
Thank you. If that's all in terms of presentation of information, and that's all for questions on either side, we are now closed for any more input and open deliberations within our commission group. Let's start with, let's hear from Ed. Can you please start?
Yeah. There's a lot of issues going on here, and I'm just going to make it brief. I believe that the animals, and we are here for the animals, okay? Nothing else. We're here for the what's best for the animals involved. Reading the evidence, reviewing the evidence, I believe it's pretty clear. The environment is tainted, and no pun there at all. I just want to make it brief, is that the environment I don't believe is suitable for the animals. At this time, I don't believe that it could be. And when we confirmed that, since the animals have been in Arundel County care, that they seem to have no problems. I believe the county did correct by removing the animals from that environment, and it is my opinion that they should not be returned to that particular environment. I don't believe it is a healthy environment for various reasons, not only the cleanliness issues, but I believe that perhaps the problem that the animals were having may have been transmitted from the environment. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not of the opinion that they should be returned.
Thank you, Ed. Matthew?
I don't want to spend a lot of time echoing everything Ed just said, but I agree, especially concerning the history, that we've kind of had one chance and we regress back to the same position. I think if we were to return the animals in a couple months, we would be back in this same kind of a hearing. So I would not be comfortable with returning the animals.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I agree that I'm not comfortable returning the animals. At this point, I'm unclear as to what resources the commission has in a case like this going forward. I think it's very sad. I think there are clearly some untreated issues going on here. And I think it's obvious that Ms. Cashel could benefit from some supports that she's not receiving. I think it requires more resources than what animal control can provide. I think I appreciate her offering the steps that she would be willing to take. I want to make it clear for the record that I'm not necessarily in favor of appointment inspections, because that sort of defeats the purpose. I think any inspection would need to be unannounced so that you catch the state of things as they actually exist and not as they've been prepped. I am very concerned that her immediate reaction throughout all of this is immediately to sue, which is why I checked her bar status. It wasn't, I was looking at her individual stability, but it just seems a very aggressive posture when the concern really should be ultimately about the animals. if this commission and animal control has the resources to maybe monitor the situation, I think I could be persuaded to give her another opportunity to maintain the house in the condition that she claims it is in now. Because I can't, as we sit here today, I don't know what condition the house is in. I got a brief look from her camera on the floors, which did seem to be new and replaced, but I saw those pictures that I thought were, of the conditions of the house, which I certainly would, the prior conditions of the house, which I certainly would never return an animal to. But at the end of the day, if animal control doesn't have the resources, I guess, to monitor this more closely, then I could not support returning the animals to Ms. Cashel.
Thank you. Lieutenant Ravenel?
Yes. Is this a final order?
This is so this is just a petition to return animals back to owner, and so I guess this is our recommendation. I'm not sure the question about a final order.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were making a final decision. I'm in agreement.
No, I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm in agreement at this time with the current situation and circumstances and the information that we have. Animals not be returned to Ms. Cashel at this time. And again, and that's why I want to know if this was a final and determining issue. Order that there would be no further discussion. But at this time, I don't think it's appropriate to return the animals back to the condition and environment without knowing what she has in place formally for animal control to be able to monitor to ensure that the health of the animals are going to be able to be maintained. So at this time, I would say no, the animals not be returned to Ms. Cashel.
Thank you. And Tom.
Yes, thanks. I think, honestly, Stephanie, I think the biggest concern for me is something that I believe you tried to get out of Ms. Cashel, which is, how is it that you are going to keep up with the cleanliness that, you just spent all this money you said on your floors? How, when it comes down to it, an animal defecates, an animal urinates, how is that not dealt with immediately? Obviously, we're talking about bringing cleaning people in. That could be weekly. A week's worth of urine and feces, that's not great. That's not a good thing. I think that's the number one issue is if she's not physically capable of handling that in and of herself, I don't know how we get past that. Even with, monthly, I can't even imagine monthly inspections from animal control being enough. If nothing would happen in a month and those animals went back, that's terrible conditions right there. 1 month of fecal matter on the floor is too much. Does animal control have the resources to, be out there weekly to monitor this daily? I don't think that's reasonable personally, but so, obviously I echo everything else everyone else says, but I do think, Stephanie, that's kind of that was the biggest thing that I'm wanting to hear was, and you asked the question specifically and we didn't really get a direct answer, I felt like, but the answer was, well, I have a cleaning person come and help me, but unfortunately, I just don't think that's enough. So I would agree with everyone that I don't feel comfortable in the situation, bringing the animals back. I do agree, and I don't know in these type of cases if we have to rule specifically that the taking of the animals was warranted. In that case, I do agree that it was for sure.
Thank you. Yes, it's difficult to know if this is something that could be managed from what we're seeing today and the evidence presented. It does seem appropriate that the animals were taken into custody for their care and medical management and the condition of their living conditions. And it was taken care of, and we're back here again. So I think, again, to your echo the points that I'm not sure if we really have the resources to continue to monitor monthly, and also based on the concerns of pet management, I don't see it being there. I think it's, we love our pets, but they do need care, and sometimes that's just not possible. And our point here today is to make sure that medical care and a clean environment is provided for these two dogs, Clifton and Tippy. And I would agree that I'm not comfortable returning these dogs back to the home at this time. And I don't think that inspections and regular inspections would be something that they can do. And I don't know. So that's just where I am too. I just, for what we're seeing today, I don't see that we can return them to the home. I mean, to your point, Jennifer, I mean, could we do another inspection and see if that things would be able to be managed? But I am worried that happened from January to October, and I am worried that we'd be right back here in another commission report again. And I think that's what we are all thinking at this time. So if we will make a motion and then take a vote on our decision.
I'll make a motion that for the record, animal control was, it was warranted to remove the animals from the environment, and that they should not be returned at this time.
Phil, do they need to be separate? Those motions, do they need to be separate? Does the vote need to be separate? I just remember from the first case we did like this, I thought the vote had to be separate on that.
Yeah, so essentially, the questions we have to answer was the taking warranted? Should they be returned? If not, and if so, what conditions? I think we're okay to put it in as one motion if Ed is making a motion for both, so far as deliberation between you guys as to altering that motion after.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I just want to make sure procedurally we're fine. If that's fine, Ed, I'm happy with your motion then. And I will second.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you.
Got it.
And just to say we're, this isn't what we had hoped for, but we do need to try to make the best decisions that we possibly can with the information presented to us. So I think that we did our best with that. And then Phil, if we can call the next case.
Certainly. Our next case, we have Sarah Croom versus Anab Kamal. We have 2 citations, 5Z ending in 49 and 6Z ending in 50, both for animal disturbance prohibited in reference to the dogs Roscoe and William. Let's see. All parties who have an interest in this case who wish to testify may now come forward to take the oath. Please utilize Zoom's raise hand feature. I'll get you added in one at a time and then all sworn in together at the end. And I think we've got everybody we need here. I'm just going to pop them all up real quick. Bump, bump, bump. They should be popping in right now. Alrighty, I can see we've got everybody. Let's see, let's start with Miss Croom. Am I saying that right, Croom?
Yes, that is correct.
Perfect. And if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Sarah Croom, 2035 Astilby Way in Odenton.
Thank you kindly. And then Miss Kamal, am I saying that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. And if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Anab Kamal, 2033 Astilby Way, Odenton, Maryland, 21113.
Thank you kindly. And Mr. Hoyle, I had your video up for just a second there. If you could, there we go. If you would please state your name and address for the record.
I'm shy. Sorry. Dennis Hoyle, 2029 Astilby Way, Odenton, 21113.
Thank you kindly. If you'd all please raise your right hand. Do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I did.
Thank you all kindly. Please remain muted unless called upon to speak, and we are good to proceed.
Thanks, Phil. We will begin with Ms. Croom. If you could please state your case, please.
On the evening of July 25th, the 2 dogs, Roscoe and William, were out on the balcony of Miss Kamal's residence, which is adjacent to my bedroom window. And they were allowed to bark freely at whatever neighborhood going-ons they were to witness. And they continued to do so from approximately 8 p.m. until nearly midnight.
Okay, thank you. Is this the first time that that's happened?
Definitely not. In previous incidences, I have tried to ask the neighbors to bring the dogs in after a certain time of night. They provided me a cell phone number that I could text them if the dogs were being a disturbance. And I did try texting them one time when they were out there barking and wasn't responded to. So we also filed complaints through the HOA for various previous incidences, and nothing has really changed. The frequency has decreased, but it still continues to occur.
Okay, thank you. And is Mr. Hoyle, is he a witness for which party? I didn't gather that.
I'm a witness for both parties.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well then maybe we'll
yeah, I'm here at Sarah's request, but I'm a neighbor of both. So,
okay.
And known both since they've been here, so.
Okay, I think we'll hear from Ms. Kamal at this time, and then we'll come back to you if that's okay, Mr. Hoyle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kamal, if you could unmute and share your story as well.
I got my dogs. They are small. They're like 2 small dogs. And initially, it was that I did not realize how like their barking was like, it was pretty aggressive initially. So I made sure that I got bark collars for them as soon as I realized, okay, this is like going to become an issue at all, because I have a doggy door in the summertime where I would like let them kind of like roam around, because I work from home. And majority of the time I am home or somebody is home with them. So it's not like, you know, they are out there by themselves, because somebody is at my house at least 99% of the time. It's either me, my mother, or my brother. So somebody's here at all times. But I did realize that their barking was getting aggressive in the sense that, like, you know, they can hear any noise or like a wind chime, and then, you know, they would be ready to bark at something. And so as soon as I realized that, I got them bark collars. And also I try to make a thing where we have a schedule in the sense that like at like a certain time, I will close the doggy gate so they don't get out, because they kind of roam around the house, because normally they'll stay with me, but they do occasionally go and roam. In the sense, if they do get out, I had made sure that they have bark collars. But now I've made a schedule in the sense that like, okay, it's also getting colder outside, so I don't let them go on the deck as frequently as well, because it's cold. I don't want to put them out there. But it was more of like an optional kind of thing for them to roam around. My intention was not to make a nuisance out of it, but as soon as I realized that it is becoming a problem, and you know, I also got them when they were puppies, and you know, they are like a year and some change now, so their behavior is getting better. But I have like, you know, tried to make sure that I'm not putting them on the deck intentionally late at night from hours of 8 to 12, because the dogs weigh, one of them weighs like 7 pounds, the other one weighs like 12 pounds. They went to the vet like last month. And I would not put dogs that are especially that weight in cold weather, or, you know, just like unsupervised. So for now, I guess like the plan is just to make sure that if they do go on the deck, I'm making sure that, you know, I'm 100% in the house, you know, and, you know, I don't care if my mother is here. Now I just make sure that even, you know, I understand that she's like 60 plus years old. So it might be difficult for her to, you know, get them to not go on the deck. So now it's only if I'm home, my little brother's home, and we'll make sure that, you know, we're supervising them so they're not causing a nuisance. And we got bark collars for them. But during the daytime, I wouldn't really put the bark collars on them because I feel bad, because, you know, they would just go in the summertime, go hang out on the deck. They like the sunlight. So I was like, okay. But, you know, at nighttime, I was like making sure that I put the collars on them. But it's more of making sure that we're following practice and not keeping the collars on them 100% of the time, because it was more of a concern. But they're not out there all the time either. So So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hoyle, could you please describe what you have witnessed in terms of barking and the noise disturbance?
Sure. Sure. Can you see and hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I have, like I said, I've known both neighbors and liked them both very much. And I think things are evolving. A couple of things I would just, well, note. Number one, there was a problem with the barking. It was incessant, and meaning incessant literally. They're Jack Russell Terriers, so they're very, very energetic, very, very active, very inquisitive. So they noticed everything and they wanted to speak about everything, and that happened. Later in the summer, and the two incidents that were reported did happen, and they happened the way that they were reported. But later in the summer, I think with the scheduling and the bark collars, the situation which is evolving has been evolving in the right direction. So they are, excuse me, they're barking a lot less. And I noticed that when they do, they're usually corrected more quickly. At the time, I think that they were free in and out, and without the corrective collars, were just in and out, and with all their energy, just burning it off on the deck. It has gotten a lot better, but it did happen pretty much exactly as reported.
Okay, thank you.
And I can't speak to Sarah's dilemma because she has different working hours. So you know, my wife and I have been home working from home for over a year. So we have a lot more flexibility. And I can imagine that when they're out in the evening, that it is an issue for Sarah, given that she has to get up real early in the morning. You know, for us, it was just a matter that it was just incessant. And it also matters where your room faces. My building is across a walkway from theirs, so I'm not quite as close on that side. So my experience is a little different than Sarah's.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else to add? And commissioners, any questions?
Yes, I have one. Ms. Kamal, did I hear you correctly that there's a doggy door that allows them access to the balcony or deck, or?
Yeah, but the door gets, like, you can lock the door and unlock the door. So in the summertime, we would keep the door like, you know, just like a flap kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So like before, you know, people were thinking that like I was just leaving them out there, like locking them out there, because you can't see the door because they're small. The doggy door is small. So, but now it's like, since it's getting colder outside, we keep the door locked because there's no, you know, but in the summertime, they were more eager to go towards the deck and just get their sunbathing on, I guess. I don't know if that's probably describe it. But at nighttime also, go ahead.
In the summertime, they on the day in question, I guess, they could go in and out as at will.
Well, that specific day was a friend's wedding. And when I had left to go to my friend's wedding, I remember locking the door. So for that specific day, it happened to be that it was my friend's wedding. So I remember locking the door, and my mother was here. So I'm not sure how is it. And then when I got home, they were inside. So I was more like, I didn't hear anything about it, but I wasn't sure on that specific day. It just happened to be that it was my friend's wedding, and they were inside when I got home and the door was locked. So that one was kind of one day that I'm not sure on, like, the report once I did receive, because I received it like 2 months later, like a ticket in the mail about it. And I was kind of confused. I'm like, I'm pretty sure, because I knew that I was not going to physically be here because it was my best friend's wedding. So when I had left for that, I had made sure that I locked it. So that one, I'm not sure because when I got here, they were fine. And so.
Was there somebody also in the house when you weren't
My
there?
mom was here. Yeah, my
Okay.
mom was here. And normally if some incident does happen, she will let me know that you're, you know, like, oh, did you not do this? Or did you not do that? Or, you know, if there is an issue. But so for that specific day, I can't say what happened because from my recalling, I did lock the door and I did put collars on them.
All righty, thank you.
I just have a quick question about timing. This happened in July. Is that correct? Actually, my questions are for Ms. Croom because I'm just trying to. The affidavit this happened in July, correct?
Yes.
And you submitted the affidavit in August?
Yes.
Was there something else that happened since then, or did it just take until now to get this resolved?
This incident, we got notification in October about that my affidavit was received. So I think part of it was it took a long time for this to process. But the barking does continue. The most recent barking incident was November 19th from 7 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. So it is continuing to occur.
From November 19th until today, were there any additional incidents?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And while I just want to point out, you know, something that we try to mention about noise ordinances is that while it is probably most disruptive to have, as described as incessant barking or long durations of barking unattended, most disruption is, you know, evening time. However, there is not a sort of quiet hours after a certain time. I just wanted also, like, incessant barking and noise ordinances are 24 hours. So even if it was like middle of the afternoon, prolonged incessant barking is still, you know, adverse to noise ordinances. So I just want to make that clear that while most of the complaints come in about evening time barking, at no time are dogs allowed to be left outside barking, even if it's middle of the day. So I just want to make that clear because I know the use of a doggy door is nice to have them to have free access to come and go as they please, but to your point, the barking can indeed be a nuisance at any time of day. So that was one thing I wanted to clarify going forward to help solve the situation. I know the use of bark collars and oftentimes just not allowing pets to be outside unattended is also solutions to the problems. But you know, just to know that there's not certain quiet hours. That's just a comment side note. Any other questions about this July 25th date? Commissioners, do we have any other questions for either party? And Ms. Croom?
I have just one question, a clarification. I believe we're dealing with 2 citations.
Yeah, I saw in the form I had like 6 different citations.
No, I was going
It's actually 2. It's 1 citation for each dog. Is that correct?
I saw Roscoe and William. I'm seeing 2.
Yeah, I think
it is repeated, and I was trying to go through and see if there was any other. It seems that they're all. If there's 6 of them here, but I think they're copies of.
Copies with 2 different numbers at the top. So I believe it's 2 citations for the same date.
Yeah, I think one for each dog, I believe.
Correct.
Roscoe one for William, one for Roscoe, and then they were just repeated. So I think maybe when he tried to add them, one was turned sideways, and then I don't know. I think just in our file it got turned.
That's my fault. Normally I take those extras out. I must have kept them in. My apologies.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Okay,
so we are correct.
Just the 2.
Citation for each dog for the 25th of July.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. With that clarification, Is there anything that either party would like to add as final statements? Ms. Croom, if you have anything else that you'd like to add before we break for deliberation?
I have no further statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kamal, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just that like my intention is not to cause problems in the neighborhood. I do understand that, you know, when I did get them, that they were puppies and that they were being, you know, unreasonable. So since then, I have tried my best to, you know, mitigate the noise and, you know, lessen it in any way that I can. So they're not outside 24 hours a day or anything like that, unattended. There is somebody at the house, and, you know, we are using the bark collars. We are doing what we can, but so the intention is definitely not to disturb the peace.
Thank you. Mr. Hoyle, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we break for deliberations?
Yeah, I just wanted to repeat that, you know, I like both parties a lot. And it is, I'm a more solutions kind of person, but I know you guys are dealing with the specific date, the citation for the specific date. I would, and again, I was there then, and I think Ms. Kamal has noted that it was bad at the time. Just knowing the dogs and their energy level and so forth, I think it's going to happen. But I guess my question is what is the solution short of this? If you know, if Sarah is feeling as though, you know, she's being disturbed more, or any of us are feeling like that, short of this, which is a very involved process.
Right, and to your point, we are usually focused on the one citation that we have in front of us, and we do understand that there's usually more history involved, but we always try to focus in on the date of citation in front of us, and this is an involved process. And it sounds like everyone is good communication and good neighbors and want to solve this. And quite frankly, we rely on you as neighbors to try to find those solutions. We offer ideas and solutions, but to your point, if it continues, sometimes we do hear that we are back here in Animal Commission review about a noise ordinance again, a disturbance report. And so so this process is the appropriate process versus if there is open communication where you guys can work it out yourselves. I mean, obviously that's ideal, but and I will say that it is expected. We know that dogs bark. I mean, that's natural. Dogs do bark. And if Ms. Kamal is doing everything she can to try to train dogs, her two dogs, to not bark and disturb neighbors. And we try to find what is reasonable. Dogs do bark. We try to, and try to understand that. And take all of that into consideration when we're thinking about solutions. To your point, we are focused on solutions as well, as we have limited area where we can recommend what to do next. But I would say that communication amongst neighbors is usually the very best solution if possible. And if everyone remains civil and is able to communicate, that's always a win-win for everyone. And if you do need us, we're here for you to make reports of disturbances, and sometimes we do end up back here again a month or two later if we aren't able to solve it in the neighborhood. I hope that answers your question, but yeah, it's hard for us to offer much in terms of advice in that regard. Thank you. And then at this time, if there's no more questions or evidence to present, I would say we are closed for open deliberation with the commission. I will start by, let's hear from Jennifer.
Well, I don't think there's any dispute that the citation we're talking about actually happened. I think it was a nuisance. I do think Ms. Kamal has taken some steps to alleviate it. As upset as I'm sure Ms. Croom is that there was another incident on November 19th, I think, they're dogs. It's likely going to happen from time to time, but it's not an every night thing. So I think it's being addressed. I'm not sure what the actual penalty is on this fine. I mean, I'm inclined to keep the citation in place because it did actually occur, but reduce the fine. What is this? Is it $250? Is that the?
I don't know, is it $50 each dog?
50 each.
Right.
So I'd be maybe inclined to cut that in half.
Yeah, I was considering the same thing, honestly, not to just jump right in, but I mean, either keep both citations, dropping them in half, or just drop one of the citations for one of the dogs, whichever. I'd be happy either way with that.
I think to keep the record clean so we know that it's both dogs, I'd be more inclined to keep both citations, but have the amount.
That's fine. And I mean, and I would also say, I mean, I agree with what you said, but Miss, she did admit that she doesn't always use the bar collar either. So I think that's the only kind of downside to it. She is trying to address it. It's still obviously happening. It's been corroborated on that date. So I think otherwise that's fine. I'd be happy with having the, dropping the fine of 25 on each. That sounds great.
Matthew?
I had the exact same thing to say. I was going to say there needs to be some acknowledgement that this occurred, but it seems she's trying to address the issue, so I'd be comfortable with cutting it in half.
Great, thank you. Lieutenant Ravenel?
Incident occurred. She's been charged. I would go with the current charging.
Thank you. Ed?
I was exactly right on with Jennifer. Exactly what she was going to say. She said it first. So I'm good.
And just to sort of echo what everyone is thinking is that there's no dispute that the incident did happen. There is significant effort to rectify the situation. To your point, Jennifer, if it's not happening every day, there will be times that something happens, but if it's not every day, that they're working on it. I'd like to show some goodwill to neighbors to promote that between them by offering to meet them halfway, because I see the effort and respect that with Ms. Kamal. She has 2 dogs that she's understands there's a problem and is working on it, and to promote that goodwill in the neighborhood amongst each other in communication, trying to keep the record of the occurrence by upholding both citations, but trying to compromise and offer that to Ms. Kamal for her efforts would be to half the citations and promote that goodwill. So I'm okay with that recommendation as well. If we have any other comments from anyone, or if anyone would like to make a motion.
I'll make the motion that we uphold both citations and that we reduce the fines on each one to $25 each.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best in your neighborhood, and I wish everyone peace and quiet, best that we can. Any other, I got the administrative information and I was going over that. Thanks for sending it early so that with the password going through the minutes from November the 1st, I was able to go through it in advance. And I just need to send that over to you, that everything looks correct on that end, Phil.
Perfect, thank you.
I will sign that, send that over. Do we have any other administrative business to attend?
So just need to make the motion to approve that. And I guess on a side note, Elizabeth's commission expired in November. That's why she's not here with us today.
Okay.
She passed along that, she loved working with us and that will be missed. Hopefully we can see her outside of this in the future.
Yeah, she will be missed. She was great.
Time flies.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in and say thank you all very much. You did a great job today. I appreciate you listening and helping us with this. I know these cases are incredibly difficult.
Yeah, we've got a great team. Thank you for that. And then, as everyone knows, I will make a motion for the minutes in just a second, but I will say that going into the new year, I too will be quite busy as we're expecting, as I mentioned before. And so I will not be with the commission as the starting of the new year. But keep me in mind that as my life settles in with a new one, a new little addition to the family, that if you need my, I'd love to serve in a capacity in the future, but if you need me going forward, once my life settles a bit, if you need someone on the board, I'd be happy to rejoin. I just have a little bit more focus in the beginning of the new year. So I wish everyone happy holidays and happy new year. With that, I would say, looking over the minutes from November 1st, 2021, I move to ratify those decisions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And then a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Send pictures, Stephanie.
I will. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, we're having a good time.
Very good.
You have a good holiday.
Happy holidays. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Happy holidays, guys.
See you guys.
Bless y'all.